Massdrop is an online group buy site with a large variety of products. Products can reach well below their MSRP, averaging around 50% off. Click the first link in the description to sign up. Hello guys, DarkLord Projects here again, and today we have a $900 powerful gaming PC build. So let's get started. So the CPU is the Intel Core i5-4690K, which is $230. It's clocked at 3.5 GHz, it's unlocked, and it's quad core. So the CPU is perfectly fine when it comes to gaming. It's quad core and 3.5 GHz, which are really fast speeds, and quad core is 2 extra cores, but 4 cores does help, but 2 cores is pretty much all you need for gaming. But if you want to make some content creation here and there, just not all the time, this CPU will be able to do it with no problem at all. It's also unlocked, so feel free to overclock the CPU, but I'm not very much an overclocking guy. I don't think it's necessary unless you're getting a huge boost in performance. The motherboard is the ASRock B85M DGS, which is $60. It's an overclockable board, it's micro ATX, it's LG1150, and it's a B85 chipset. So this board isn't very expensive, it's around $60, which is a little bit more expensive than most boards, which are around $40 when it comes to LG1150, but we do have a higher budget for this build, so I decided to get something a little bit more premium. This board has no problem overclocking, so if you want to overclock the CPU, you have all the right parts to do that. It's also micro ATX, so it's a smaller board, but most boards these days are micro ATX. It's also LG1150, the same socket as the CPU, and it's B85 chipset, which is the same compatible chipset for this CPU. So the RAM is the G.Skill Ripjaws X series, which is $74. It's 8GB to 4GB sticks, it's clocked at 1600 MHz, and it's DDR3. So this RAM is pretty much the cheapest on the market when it comes to 8GB and being 1600 MHz. It's some pretty decent RAM. There's nothing really super special about it except that it's 8GB and 1600 MHz. It's obviously DDR3 because that's the only RAM compatible with this processor. So $74 is a pretty good price, so no complaints there. So the storage is the Seagate Hybrid, which is $79. It's 1TB, it's an HDD with a built-in SSD, it's 7200 RPM, and it's 3.5 inches. So this hard drive isn't exactly just an HDD like the Seagate Barracuda. It has a built-in SSD, so it has some boost performance. So 7200 RPM is the actual rotation of the hard drive, but there's an SSD which allows faster speeds when it comes to reading and writing. It's 1TB, which is the standard for most hard drives, and it's also 3.5 inches, which is also pretty standard when it comes to hard drives. The graphics card is the Asus GeForce GTX 970 Strix, which is $356. It's the new Maxwell architecture. It's an overclocking beast. It's 4GB of GDDR5 RAM, and it's clocked at 1.11 GHz. So this is a fairly new GTX 970 compared to all the other ones. This card already comes overclocked, that's why it has very high clock speeds, which is 1.11 GHz. It has 4GB of GDDR5 RAM, which most GTX 970s have these days, and like most Maxwell architecture processors, it's just great at overclocking. Because of the low voltage of the GTX 970, it allows extreme overclocks for this processor. But it is already overclocked to 1.11 GHz, so I wouldn't exactly recommend overclocking it, but you still might be able to squeeze a little bit more performance from this card. So the case is the Corsair 300R, which is $60. It's an ATX mid-tower case, it has several drive bays, and it's a very well made case. So this case does have a lot of positive reviews and a few rewards here and there given by retailers on the internet. This case is only $60, but pretty much has the same quality as a $100 case on the internet. It's a pretty amazing case because it fits all the parts perfectly fine and it has some pretty good cable management. The case itself looks pretty sleek and it has a nice design to it, which I kind of like when it comes to cases. It's also just a great build environment in general. It's not a super small case, but it's big enough to fit all of your parts with no problem at all. So the power supply is the EVGA NEX 750G, which is $60. It's fully modular, it's 80 plus gold certified, and it's 750 watts. This power supply is fully modular, which is great when it comes to connecting all the cables with your build. So you have some extra cables that you don't use for the build. You could simply just unplug them and stash them away when you do need them. It makes the case really neat looking because you don't have all these extra cables dangling at the bottom of the case. It's also 80 plus gold certified, which is a huge plus because you save some money on your energy bill at the end of the month. It's also 750 watts, which is more than enough to power up the build and have some upgradability in the future. So the overview for this PC build is it has very new parts and it's quite powerful. So this PC has some new parts like the Intel Core i5-4690K and the GTX 970 Strix. Both of these are very new and have some pretty decent specs for them, and they're also not super expensive like other parts on the market. This PC is also very powerful, which is great when it comes to gaming, because you'll be able to easily play every game at ultra settings on this PC. This PC also does have some potential when it comes to 4K gaming. You might be able to play games at high to medium settings at 4K, which is still pretty good for a $900 PC build. So that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure you check out purepc.net for some more awesome PC builds, tech reviews, whatever it is, it's most likely there. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later.